Bret Hart is concerned over Triple H taking over WWE and has concerns about WWE in the future. Hi guys, and welcome to another edition of the General Jerry channel. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting into this right now. This comes courtesy of NoDQ.com. As noted, WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart has recently been interviewed by Knott's TV News. There was a wide range of topics, but one of the main ones was something that Bret Hart said, that he is concerned about WWE's future and with Triple H taking over. He said, and I quote, "I'm always happy to be proven wrong, but I've never seen any real genius from Triple H yet. I sound like I'm always knocking him, but it seems he's quick to push the great wrestling to a side and push the bodies, guys who have good physiques all the time. They wonder why CM Punk quit. They wonder why Daniel Bryan got hurt. It's because they squeeze so much out of these guys." Hart said, "I'm just calling it the way I see it. Triple H is a former bodybuilder. He's all about bodies. He thought that Hulk Hogan was the greatest wrestler in the world. They think the Ultimate Warrior was the greatest wrestler in the world because that's what they're attracted to." He's not saying that they're like physically attracted by big men, but you know. Anyway, but he's not really a wrestling fan like I grew up. I was a wrestling fan. I had wrestling in my blood all the way through. I was a wrestling fan. I loved great wrestling like this year's WrestleMania. There was no great wrestling on the card. All the great wrestling was 2 days before in the NXT TakeOver in Dallas with Nakamura and Sami Zayn. However, her as well as other wrestlers, he says that's what WrestleMania is all about. This year at WrestleMania, I thought it was absurd. On the bill, there's no wrestling on the card at all. And he goes on a little bit on part-timers, but I specifically want to get into him and Triple H. I have to agree with Bret Hart. I haven't seen a lot of genius from Triple H. It almost seems like Triple H is piggybacking off of Vince McMahon. I see what Triple H is doing with NXT and I understand it. It's all well and good having these guys doing, a lot of stuff that people might enjoy. But the problem is the story. The problem is with WWE right now is that it is lacking serious story. No matter what way you cut it, no matter what way you look at it, it is lacking story in both SmackDown. Because, remember back in the day where they used to build stories on SmackDown? Right now, SmackDown is like a hangover from fucking Raw. It's like, you'll take a few beers, but you probably have to eventually go home anyway. That is basically what it is. That's the way Raw has been. There is no decent build-up. It's basically this guy, they'll fight amongst each other, they'll have a dispute backstage, and then they'll compete. And there's throwaway matches that they actually do as well, and the matches that they should have booked, they haven't properly done. For example, I was on Must Destroy All's Hangout. You can definitely check it out on I Must Destroy All Wrestling. And I was on there and I was discussing that the fact that Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn can actually be something that would have been great. Now, they're doing it on this pay-per-view, but what I would argue is that you should have had Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. Even with Sami Zayn having a great match with Nakamura, they should have done that. That's what they should have done, but they threw it to the side. They didn't build any story. What they did was they just shoved a lot of people in a ladder match, and they had Zack Ryder win. And then Zack Ryder loses on Raw. See, that's the type of thing that I like. Whenever something cool might happen, then they take it away. The same with the Bullet Club. We haven't seen anything really from the Bullet Club that interests me at all. Whenever you think, oh, the Bullet Club are going to debut, we're going to see something amazing. No, and then they take it away. They mess it up. It's almost like they're getting there, and then when the execution is about to happen, they just fail on every level. That's what I have. Now, in terms of real wrestling, I understand what Bret Hart's saying, real wrestling, shit like that about NXT. I would argue, though, that there needs to be more storylines, some really good storylines in WWE, because that's why I watch it. That's why I watched it, because I wanted to see storylines that interest me. What Raw is lacking right now, especially under Triple H's regime, is that at the very end of Raw, back in the day, there used to be cliffhangers. Do you remember that? Remember when CM Punk did the pipe bomb and shit? It was like, oh my god, it's a cliffhanger. Or there would be cliffhangers that would happen at the end of Raw, so it would make you watch Raw the next week. That is what is Raw is lacking cliffhangers for us to give us incentive to watch the next week. That is what wrestling is. It is storytelling in the ring. Not just in the in-ring physicality and shit, but by the storytelling that they perceive in scripts and shit like that. That is something that Triple H's regime is heavily lacking, and it's actually affecting the ratings. For anyone who doesn't know, Raw got an extremely low rating last week, and a lot of people might say, well, you know, we're seeing Sami Zayn, we're seeing all these guys. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. Yeah, but we need story and Raw. If there ain't no story, then no one's gonna give a shit. You need to have people to invest in this shit in order to move forward and actually watch the show. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna ramble on here, but that's all I gotta say. That is one of the main problems I have with Triple H right now, is that he's doing this, yes, but there's an extreme lack of storyline for incentive for me to actually watch it. Anyway, guys, this is General Jerry on the General Jerry channel, signing out.